With the advent of AI in the world of education, maybe it's more urgent than ever for us as educators to be teaching soft skills to our students. It's the idea of teaching empathy. We need to allow them to practice communicating with other students, with leaders, and really maybe even looking at leadership itself. How can we instill leadership skills in our students? A lot of them are soft skills. Hey teachers, welcome to the Lead, Serve, Teach podcast, where we explore the intersection of leadership, education, and personal growth. I'm your host, D.Paul Miller, and I'm so glad you're here for another powerful conversation and, well, a little bit of real talk. So let's get into it. Today's episode is actually the beginning of a 4-part series on the impact of AI in education. There's a lot of development in the world of artificial intelligence, and really there's a lot of things happening in the education world that really are very positive. Maybe you could look at AI through the lens of it's helping you as a teacher or as an educator maybe be a little bit more efficient with your time. Maybe it's providing you with tools that are making you a little bit more impactful in the classroom. But there's also this side, let's call it a fear, that really is taking root in some people's hearts and minds about the impact of artificial intelligence in education. What is that impact going to be? Let's take it out of the world of education and economically speaking. There's some fears in the job market, for example. What's going to happen to these jobs that maybe AI is taking the place, machines, computers are taking the place of people that are doing jobs that maybe this world of AI is going to come in with mechanized ways to complete these jobs. Well, we're looking at this, it's a loss of a job, right? I want to present maybe just a little bit different perspective in terms of the importance of what we are teaching our students. The content that we are teaching our students is valuable. It is the core, right, of what we are teaching. But I do want to say maybe we should start altering what we are teaching, maybe how we are teaching, maybe a little bit of the time that we put into things beyond the content, not different than the content, but a little bit beyond. Today's focus is really going to be on developing the soft skills in our students. Recently, the inclusion of the social emotional learning for our students and really looking at the mental health, the importance of incorporating that into our curriculum, into our content, what we're teaching every single day. And in reality, a lot of that has to do with soft skills. It's the idea of teaching empathy within our students. And it's the idea that we need to teach interpersonal communication skills. So we need to allow them to practice communicating and really maybe even looking at leadership itself. How can we instill leadership skills in our students? So I want to jump into this idea today that we as teachers, we as educators, we don't just need to raise students that just know content. We don't need to raise students that just get high scores. We don't just need to raise students that know how to use an AI tool and therefore they're good the rest of their life. Like that's going to be the be all end all for them. It's not. We as educators need to be raising humans who have mastered soft skills because in the world that they're going into, it's going to be different. And really, maybe in some ways, what they can produce with their hands, what they can physically produce may not be as important as their abilities to work with other people. To say AI is replacing tasks, not people. People still want to work with other people. We could backtrack just a few years into this world of COVID and the impact that it had on all jobs out there. And one of the biggest issues was the lack of contact, the lack of communication, the lack of connection with other people. And so, yes, we see AI moving so quickly in the world of jobs, in the world of education. We see it impacting us, and we can pick out areas where it's negatively impacted our students. It's, hey, you need to write an essay on this. I want to know as the educator, I want to know what my students are thinking through their authentic writing. And it's very easy for them nowadays to go and use an AI tool just to produce an essay. Here you go, teacher. I've got my essay done. And then we read it. We know very quickly, oh, this was done by AI. It has no real thoughts coming from the students' brains about what they're actually feeling, what they're actually thinking, what their opinion really is. And so we see it can definitely negatively impact. And one of the things that I want through this series really to get to teachers is we should teach our students how to use AI and AI tools as just that, a tool. AI is a perfect tool to help our students be more efficient, to actually improve their learning. AI actually is proving to be a really good tutor in some cases for certain courses and things, but it can't lead a classroom discussion with empathy. AI can't really resolve a conflict with emotional intelligence. It doesn't have those things. AI, it can't, as far as a teacher perspective, it can't show compassion to a struggling student. You can't say, hey, I get you. I understand where you're at, and let me help you with that. That's your role as an educator. And really, it's your role right now. It's your students' future role. Those roles of, being a person, being a human with those soft skills, that's going to remain irreplaceable in the future. It's our job as educators in this new world to teach our students how to use AI appropriately. It's our job to, again, more than ever, maybe to develop those soft skills and realizing soft skills will be the currency of the future. It's what's going to make humans so valuable in the future. This is how we can counterbalance the world of AI and the impact that it's having and make sure that we are developing what is most important in our students every day. So today, I do want to give some perspective of where we're coming from. Let's go back 30 years. I'm sitting in the classroom as a student and I'm learning computers. I'm learning about what computers can do. And this wasn't just the advent of computers. They'd been around for a little bit, but it was kind of the advent of Google. My mother was in education, and I remember her actually talking about some of the conversations happening amongst teachers about the impact of the internet, the impact of search engines in education. And there was this fear that somehow teachers would be replaced by search engines, by Google, by Yahoo, by all these tools that were being developed in the World Wide Web at that point. And it was kind of funny. It seemed doomsday-ish. Now, 20, 30 years later, I sit there and scratch my head and go like, no, it was actually a great tool that when taught correctly, actually improved education. It improved what teachers were doing on a day-to-day basis. It improved the skills of the students. I remember sitting in a computer class and we were literally pulling up a search engine and talking about how you can type a certain search this way, or you can add this term, or you can add this symbol to the search, and it would change what we were getting. It wasn't developing a way for us to cheat. It was developing a way for us to make wiser choices about what we were finding, the information we were finding out there in the World Wide Web, right? It was that idea where I would say, again, from my experience as a social studies teacher, having those students in my classroom, one of the things that we would do is I would oftentimes have them look at primary source documents and secondary source documents. One of the ideas I would want to get across to them was that they need to determine what was the most valuable, what was the most factual, what was the best document to use in support of their argument or their opinion based on these situations throughout history, based on this idea for why our government should do X, Y, or Z, whatever the task was. I would want them to not just be able to know where to find primary source documents or how to find primary source documents. I would want them to be able to analyze those documents and make evaluations on those documents, the value of those documents and why they were the best or not the best. It was about teaching them to be wise in looking at evidence and making those choices. And in reality, I think that's kind of maybe where we're at today with AI. It's like taking a search engine and putting it on steroids, and it's interactive and it's learning as we go. It's becoming better and smarter. But I think as we progress as educators, we need to look at it through the lens of how do we teach the soft skills in our courses? As AI gets smarter, I think we need to teach our students how to be wiser. And the only way they will grow wiser is through us helping them develop and practice those soft skills. One of the things I think we get wrapped up on as educators is this idea of teaching bell to bell. And we should be looking at this content over here and saying, okay, content's the most important thing. And we got to spend every waking moment in our class teaching bell to bell. It's got to be all content related. And I really think we need to back up for just a second on that and develop a new mentality on that and saying teaching soft skills, it doesn't actually take away from academic time. It actually adds depth to our academic time. We need to take the time to build and develop and practice soft skills in our classrooms with our students in order to allow them to utilize AI in a real and supportive manner. And also looking towards the future, making sure that they have the skills that will be the currency of the future those soft skills. So one of the things I want to give you today before we close is just this idea of taking just a little bit of time at the beginning or the end of class just to dedicate it towards those soft skills. And you've heard me speak on here before the impact of dedicating just a few minutes each day towards developing relationship with your students. I think what we can do is actually make a combo there. It's funny how those things will go hand in hand. And again, we're not losing time. It doesn't take away that time. It actually adds depth to everything that we're talking about. It adds depth to our content. I think the tangible item I want to give you today is just dedicating maybe 5 minutes at the end of class to do maybe a daily debrief. More and more we're having students work in groups. We're having them collaborate. So the research is showing us that having students collaborate in their learning on a daily basis can multiply the impact of what they're learning. It can have a huge impact. And so really maybe a good thing to do is do this daily debrief. And it's a simple question. You can stop your students and just say, hey, how did we work as a team today? Let's take just a few minutes to look at how we worked as a team today. It can give you a perfect opportunity to address things possibly that didn't go so well. But it's starting with your students and having them recognize those moments, maybe where they weren't giving full effort, or maybe where an argument happened. And it gives you the opportunity as the educator again to start instilling in your students some of those soft skills about how to work in a group, how to deal with arguments, how to deal with other people in your group that maybe aren't working the same way that you're working, maybe that are thinking differently, maybe that have different opinions. It's amazing what happens when you just open up a simple question like that. Having your students actually list out one soft skill that they use during the day, whether it was listening, whether it was practicing patience, asking for help, had them list out one soft skill that they used at that day, have them recognize it and recognize the impact that it had, or maybe have them look at a skill they didn't use and the lack of impact that it had on their ability to move forward that they're learning that day. And maybe sometimes you could even take this one step further, this daily debrief, maybe have a student facilitator that actually leads up this conversation and allows you as the educator to kind of be the sage on the stage on the side that can actually just impart wisdom, but actually have some of the students start taking ownership of what's happening in that class. And that, well, you've heard me talk about it on my podcast before, this idea of metacognition, the thinking about your thinking. This is a great way to help the students do that in a soft skills focus. How did we work as a team today? And in reference to what is that teaching our students back here in their brain somewhere about the impact of AI, well, they could look at it and have a great conversation about maybe if they used a computer, they used AI in this collaborative opportunity, whatever they were doing in the class that day. But the question isn't about, hey, how did AI work? How did this impact? How did this computer use impact what we were learning today? No. It's about how did we work as a team today? How are we better as a team? Because we used everyone's soft skills here. And that's instilling in your students this idea that, hey, AI is a great tool. My computer is a great tool. Go back 30 years ago. My textbook is a great tool, but it doesn't take the place of the human. It doesn't take the place of our role in our use of soft skills. It doesn't take that. It remains irreplaceable. And that's what we need to start instilling in our students is the value of soft skills was successful, or maybe even reverse that again. What's one soft skill that you didn't use today that you should have? And what was the result of that? I think that's going to be such a great tool to use, and maybe not on a daily basis. But anytime where you're using collaborative tools in the classroom, collaborative opportunities in the classroom, use the daily debrief. It's amazing what you can get out of that. So listen, if today's message hit home, go down and subscribe to the podcast. Go out and visit heyteachersdon'tquit.com for some more free resources. So I'd love to close up today and invite you back. Hey, come back for the next episode. It's going to be so fun as we look at, again, this impact of AI and really how we can use it as a great tool in our world, how we can help it formulate and push us as teachers towards developing those soft skills. We're going to continue the conversation right here. Remember, you're not just a teacher, you're a leader, you're a change maker. So keep striving, keep inspiring, and don't ever quit. I'm D.Paul Miller. I'll see you here for the next episode.